Metro Traffic Unit 11. Come on, you know. They got one beat-up old truck. No, we sent one of our remote crews during the parade and the celebration to interview some people, and we have a little videotape of that, and let's take a look at the tape, and we'll find out why people do that identification.
Okay, right. Good enough.
Yeah.
How important do you think it was, your participation as a fan, in the Twins winning the World Series?
Well, I think it's very important because we really enjoyed the activity, and we enjoyed the whole thing.
Well,
it's wonderful.
They've been saying all along that the fans were a major part in their winning these games at home. Do you think that might be a reason why they keep winning at home?
Absolutely. Just look at the series. We won the 4 games here with the fans, and then when they were out of town, they lost 3 games.
So it must have been really important to them.
Very, very important. I think and look around us. Just look at all the people here, just showing the attitude of the people. And I think it's wonderful.
Now, why did you come here today after they've already won the World Series? The games are over. Why did you come today?
For the festivity. We just love this festivity. I think it's wonderful. Just wonderful.
So do you think they're going to do it again next year?
We hope so.
Well, I'll be watching to see.
Right, we certainly will.
So how important do you think a fan is to a baseball player in the World Series game?
Extremely important. I think that if we hadn't had a thunderous ovation the last 2 games, they probably would not have won either one of those games. I think it was very important.
So if without the fans, you don't think they could have won this ball game?
Well, it would have been a little more difficult. It wouldn't have been 10-2 in the first game, and it probably would have been 4-3 in the second game.
Right.
A lot closer.
Well, I agree with you. So why are all these people here? After all the games have been won, it's all over. Why are they here?
This is the 10th inning. This is the part that we all strove for. We were in spring training practicing our hanky waves, you know, and this is what it comes to. This is the ultimate wave today.
Tell me what the World Series winning, the Twins winning the World Series means to you.
Well, I think it just means that finally our Minnesota team has won a championship after so many unsuccessful tries.
After such a long time, 4 Super Bowl losses and all of that. Were you a Twins fan all year long?
Oh, yes, and I've been a Twins fan all my life.
Great. And how about you? Have you been going to the Twins games? Yeah. Have you been going with Dad? And what does the World Series
normally be here taking the night off? A combination of Thanksgiving and our first anniversary party did hurt, but we'll survive. And Bruce Kurnow and Andrea Nick Taylor, Group Sierra, in just a couple minutes. Right now it is the Christmas season. This is the big shopping day. When you look at the traditions of Christmas, of course, it's a Christmas carol at the Guthrie and Santa Lucia at the Swedish Institute, but also the Nutcracker which is traditionally performed at Northrop Auditorium. For those of you who have seen it before, they really do a great job in changing the choreography and changing the musical direction, and there is a brand new edition of the Nutcracker that is opening, in fact, tonight at Northrop. We sent Mary Doyle, our field producer, and Beth Griffin to a press preview, and they're going to give us a full report on what to expect with this year's edition of the Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker, a Christmas tradition for many, and for some their first exposure to the world of ballet. This year, the ballet has changed. A new artistic director, a new choreographer, new sets, and new costumes. Kent Stowell, the artistic director and principal choreographer for the Northwest Ballet, is the catalyst behind all of these changes. We had the opportunity to speak with him about that.
America has made Nutcracker its most enjoyable and highly visible cultural experience as far as the family is concerned. Mm-hmm. And so in thinking about doing Nutcracker, there were a couple of considerations. It was to take the opportunity to expose as many people to the production as that we possibly could. And the other was that if we were going to do a new Nutcracker, that we should do it better than anyone else has done it. Mm-hmm. Go back to the beginning, find what things are in the ballet that were really interesting and exciting that haven't been included in other productions. Mm-hmm. And so when I started thinking about doing this one, those were the basic rules that we set out as what we wanted to try and accomplish.
Mm-hmm. So you used Mr. Hoffman's original novel, I understand, as a real basis for the story and trying to get more of the meat of that story.
That's right. And there were certain limitations involved. The story, the Hoffman story, is much more complex and longer than the ballet, but Tchaikovsky wrote the score to the givens that Petipa had set out. So we couldn't get Tchaikovsky to write any more music, so we had to deal with it in a way that was still trying to bring some interesting elements into it that hadn't been introduced before, and make it a rich and tantalizing experience for the audience.
The music hasn't changed at all.
Oh no, the music hasn't changed. It's one of the most delightful musical scores in all history, and it's enjoyed by more people than any other score. And it's really an exciting part of any production, certainly.
And there's still Sugar Plum Fairies and Russian Dancers.
Well, there's a different flavor to this production. Instead of Russian dancers, we have whirling dervishes. Instead of an Arabian dance, we have a peacock. Instead of Chinese, we have a tiger. And there's a lot of different elements in this production that have to do with a certain amount of logic that we created in following Clara to her fantasy. When she goes downstairs to her family's Christmas party and discovers, the excitement of all of that, and meeting Drosselmeyer, and is he really wicked? Does he create fantasies? Am I dreaming? What's going on here? And then she dreams an extraordinary fantasy of what her life might be like, and then experiences that whole dream.
The sets and costumes have received rave reviews. How much of a factor did Mr. Sendek have on the production itself?
Well, he and I worked very, very closely for 2.5 years in developing the whole production, and all of the characters in it, all of the elements of what we wanted to see on stage, the scenario, how the whole production should look, and how it should be perceived, and what things could we together as creative artists bring to it that would be exciting and pleasant for the audience to enjoy.
I understand that he originally turned you down. How did you change his mind?
Well, by the premise that I wanted to start with was that to start over, let our fantasies, let our imagination dictate what comes out of the production, not have any preconceived ideas of what it should be, but just let it develop naturally out of our own instinct as artists and our own imagination. And then when he became convinced that that's what I wanted to do, then he got excited about joining the team and making it work.
Was his previous experience with Where the Wild Things Are and the fact that is sort of a dream fantasy story, was that one of the reasons why you selected him for this project?
Well, I thought that his relationship to children, all of his children's books, would bring some insight into the production that hadn't been there before, and I think that worked very well, yes.
What can we expect later on in the year from the Northwest Ballet?
Well, next spring we're going to be here doing Midsummer Night's Dream. We look forward to a long, fruitful relationship with the Twin Cities. We're very, very, very happy that this agreement has taken place, and we feel very fortunate because the Twin Cities is such an important community, and its relationship to the arts is of course well documented, and we're very happy to be a part of this cultural environment.
Well, I'm sure we can do nothing but look forward to a fruitful ballet year from the Northwest Ballet. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming and seeing our rehearsal this afternoon. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
The merger between the Minnesota Dance Theater and the Pacific Northwest Ballet has been met with mixed reviews. However, if the excitement and drama of the new Nutcracker is an example of the season yet to come, I'm sure we'll all agree that the Northwest Ballet is just what Minnesota needed. For Primetime Live, this is Mary Doyle with photographer Beth Griffin.
Nutcracker now through December 5th.